Alright, slating in 3, 2, 1. Howdy folks, it's Zach, and welcome back to my gaming channel. And today we're talking about Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, and namely, we're looking at the 7 stars that are now available after last night's maintenance. Really quick though, before I get into it, I just want to give a huge shout out and wave to Evil Laughter 01, Thank You Zalt, and Hal. These are the 3 YouTubers most responsible for getting me to doing this video myself. So I just want to give you guys a huge shout out and just thank you guys for all the hard work that you do, because when I need to reference something, those are the guys I go to. Now hopefully today, guys, what my goal is to talk to you guys as a free-to-play player. Okay, I don't have tons of expendable income, but I love this game and I play it every single day. So I'm looking at each one of these units from the eyes of being a free-to-play player, not having infinite resources and not having tons and tons and tons of TMRs and STMRs already, and just kind of taking the knowledge that I have thus far and what little knowledge I have of the future and trying to help you guys make a decision on what do I want to do with these characters, and do I want to chase after them with unit or choice tickets? Do I want to merge up any of the ones I have? Do I want to take the ones I have and just leave them as is, because maybe it's better to have 2 6-star units than 1 7-star unit? Things like that. With that being said, let's go ahead and start at the top of the list, and we're going to start with Frevia. Now Frevia, however you want to pronounce it, if you have 2 of her, I would say absolutely without a doubt, go ahead and merge them up and make a 7-star character out of this one. The reason I'm saying that is because, 1, there's not a lot of really good hybrid attackers in the game, and Frevia is definitely, at this point, if she's not the top of the heap, she is in the top 3 of the heap, okay? And she looks like she's going to stay that way for a while. I think there's going to be a 7-star light version of her coming out with Fan Festa that we might have a chance for, but I'm just saying, if you have 2 of her in your arsenal right now, go ahead and merge them up. The reason I'm telling you to do that is obviously because if you buff up Frostflower Blitz, that gets Divine Ruination Chains. And just thinking contextually here, the latest damage dealer who came out, who was the big thing, was Hio. Hio uses Divine Ruination Chains. Both Orlando and Veritas of the Dark have Divine Ruination Chains. This isn't something that's going away. Also, Sephiroth down the road will get a 7-star awakening, and he has the Divine Ruination Chains. So the good thing about Frevia is that she has this ability to chain with these other characters, but even more importantly, while dealing her hybrid damage, she is not equipping the same equipment that all your other characters are going to be using. Okay, there's going to be a lot of chaining partners for her out there. You don't really need to feel like you need to hang on to 2 of them. Go ahead and merge them up into 1. Also, I would mention that Frevia, if you have Frevia already, you probably already have her TMR, Frevia's Needle. Excellent. Keep that. It's still a really good weapon for her. Her STMR, if you have 4 Frevia, I'm really impressed. Do I think you should get this? You could. It's helping out the true double hand angle. So if you already have true double hand, materials and equipment, I think you might be okay. If you don't, and you have 4 Frevia, you might consider it. It definitely gives her a boost, but I also say this, don't drive yourself nuts over it. She's going to be a good attacker no matter what, because she can attack in the 50% realm that either physical damage dealers can't on that part of the fight, or magic damagers can't. So there's certain bosses in the 10-man zone where I know they hit a threshold, and as soon as they hit that threshold, all of a sudden, oh, now they're completely immune to physical damage. And then they hit the next threshold. Oh, now they're completely immune to magic damage. Okay. Frevia can be hitting through both phases. She'll just hit about 50% less, but she can still just be in there attacking the whole time. Really, really nice. Definitely my top pick, just because as a DPS, she can keep the pressure on in either magic damage-based situations or physical damage-based situations. Also, something else that's really nice about Frevia is the ice elemental damage that she deals herself, because there's not a lot of bosses out there that resist ice. There's a bunch that resist things like fire or light or dark, but ice is one of those kind of weirdo elements that, for whatever reason, most bosses just never really have an immunity against it. So do I like her? Oh yeah, definitely. I would say go for her. The other unit I would say is kind of a must-have if to put up the 7-star. If you have 2 Lorens, do it, because the 7-star break that she gets, General's Manifesto, is pretty great. It's available on turn 1, and it's a 70% full break to every enemy on the screen. That's a really, really great way to start out the battle, guys. And then as you keep her in the fight, she can continue being a breaker, or you can have her start adding in some extra damage. She now can chain up either with the Onionite family, or she can chain with Lunera and the Aerial Ray, which is also one of the reasons why if you have Lunera, not a bad idea to kind of get her ball rolling. If you have Lunera and Loren together, they will be able to chain with each other, and they both deal with lightning and wind pretty well. So it's just something to consider in the back of your brain. However, I would also say of all these characters, again, it's really Loren and Frebbia. They're really the ones to be looking at. Lunera is one of those that, like I said, because of Aerial Ray and because now there's other characters out there who are coming up and are getting this ability, we're going to keep seeing this. Now her value goes back up again. Her value used to be for that small window when she was a bard, and we didn't have a lot of really good bards, and then eventually, we had Ramza in his upgraded form came out, and Roy came out, and then all of a sudden this kind of went away. And now I would say if you come back to this unit now, it is really more or less for her magic damage. She's got a consecutive magic damage ability here that goes up by a lot. And then also, what was it? And like I said, and just the fact that she is the originator of Aerial Ray. So, she's dealing magic damage. Another cool thing about her, teaming up with somebody like Loren, again, they're not using the same gear. A Lunera will be a bow user who is dealing magic damage and needs magic equipment. Loren is a dual wielder, or I think she can be a true double hand user with one of her abilities. I think in her toolkit now lets her twin blade. No, nope. She's strictly dual blade. That's cool too. Like I said, the 2 of them not needing the same gear to be in the same team and do damage. Next up, I have Noctis. Noctis, I did want to highlight for 2 moves. They come at 110 and 105, and that's Quintcast and Faithful Heir. Now, Noctis is one of these guys where I still don't see him becoming super relevant to the meta. What I do like him for, though, is the arena. I've always liked him in the arena. I still like him in the arena. And if you're looking to kind of take your arena team up to the next level, I think he could help a bit. His 2 moves that I really like are Quintcast, which takes all of the abilities from his 3 different flasks and just mashes them together and throws it all out in one move. Also, the cool thing about this is it's not a cooldown move. It's available anytime you have 120 MP. And all of us who've used Noctis before know that he's got some sick ways to get MP back. He can be thrown up cover on one turn and be passively regenerating mana, or he can just jump and come back down, and again, that restores mana. So he's never really a guy who, if you are playing him right, has to be hurting for mana at any given time. And the benefit of having something like Quintcast, where you're casting out a break, statuses, and stop all in one move in the arena, is a big deal. Some people may be protected from stop. Some people may be protected from stop and statuses, and but breaks almost always work. And the funny thing is that there's a lot of times where you'll fight a group and you think, wow, this group looks really, really powerful. I bet they all have status ailment protection. And then you'll find out they don't. You'll throw out something like Toxic Rain or Fire Flask, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of guys stoned, and that just saved you a bunch of trouble. So stuff like this is just really great. I don't have to take up 2 moves or 3 moves from 3 different characters to get status, stop, and a break out there. He just does it all in one shot. The downside is that because it does deal with fire, ice, and lightning, that if any one of those 3 is not allowed for the week as part of the arena rules, the whole move's out. That's why the other move is really good. Faithful Heir pumps up his limit break to full on this turn, and the next turn for 0 MP, he'll ridiculously hammer away at one of the bad guys on the opposite side. And it's great. He's just bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. It just keeps going. Every time I'm like, okay, it's going to stop now. It's going to stop now. He's going to stop hitting him. Stop hitting him. He's already dead. No, it just keeps going, man. It's great. So what's great in the new meta for the arena is it kind of had a shift of focus. It used to be physical evade guys were the best. Then people started bringing in magic damage dealers, and that would wreck the physical evade units. And so people started bringing in magical tanks to stop the magical damage dealers. And then all of a sudden, physical damage started kind of making a comeback again. What's really great is that Noctis can really handle all three. If you equip him with 100% evade and say a ribbon or discernment or something like that, then he's coming in and he's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to inflict a lot of different types of statuses, breaks, and keep things running smoothly. He can switch to single target physical damage DPS, and if I remember right, the Quintcast is hybrid. It's all hybrid damage. Fire and Ice hybrid damage to all enemies. So again, guys who are physically avoiding stuff should get hit by this, which is kind of nice. And if it misses somehow, not a big problem. You know, Noctis can hang back, be helping out with the healing of the party. He can jump. He can, you know, res people. He's just got all these extra tools in his toolkit to just kind of keep him going. You know, so like I said, for the arena, my God, how long have I already talked about this? It's already 11 minutes in. I'm only halfway through. Folan, Gladiolus, and Elfrida. I'm just going to be honest here, guys. I think all three of these guys are very skippable. And don't get me wrong. Each one comes with something cool in their arsenal of tricks that's kind of nice. And for instance, Folan, he has a Chocobo Wind, which increases wind resistance 100% for 3 turns to all allies. Very nice. 100% wind resistance, very cool. However, you need to be against a boss who's doing almost all exclusively wind damage for this to be really useful. And is it worth, you know, trying to chase after? I don't know. It's pretty niche. I feel like he's a better instrument to keep on the back burner for the fight that you eventually need him. Gladiolus is kind of weird. I'm not really a big fan of Gladiolus, only because A, I don't have him, so I've never really had a chance to play test him and see what he's all about. But honestly, he's just this weird hybrid between tank and DPS. And from what I've seen in his moves, I really don't see either one being all that great. Razor's Edge probably looks to be his best move right now. Physical damage 9 times, 9x, with defense scaling to 1 enemy. So, okay, if I pump him up with a ton of defense stuff, he can hit really hard with this one move. But that looks like the only move that scales with his defense. Nothing else really does. So am I putting, you know, attack on him? I don't know. You know, am I using him as a tank? Well, he, you know, I don't know. It's really just one of those things where, like, Royal Guard protects one ally. You know, Intercept protects all allies from physical damage, but the mitigation's way lower than it is on a physical tank. I don't know. I just don't really see it with this guy. So I usually just say skip it. Elfrida has one really cool ability in here that I thought was worth mentioning, which is that she can increase ice resistance 100% for 3 turns to all allies. I like that sort of thing. Now, granted, I think it's easier to just take the 70% from somebody like CG Nickel and skip past this entirely. But beggars can't be choosers, depending on what you have. And this one comes at 105, you know, at level 105, and she also gets interest at that same time. Her regular moves are really nothing to write home about. She's got a couple breaks. She uses Ice Element. So she and Frevia might have some utility together, maybe just kind of like Folan and, you know, Loren or Lunera, because they share some wind elemental abilities. But ultimately, I just feel like Elfrida, the reason to get her is for her TMR. Still the only reason to get her. And if you have 2 of her, I don't really see a burning need to merge them together into a 7-star unit. Now here's an interesting one. I would say if you have 2 of Blossom Sage Sakura or you have 2 of Pyroglacial Lastwell, I would say for Blossom Sage Sakura, because I do have her, I do know what it's like to play with her, I wouldn't even hesitate. I would go ahead and make her a 7-star unit. She also gets, she has had a really cool toolkit for a long time. She's got the ability to support the team by getting mana back with quick refresh. She can dual cast a lot of her abilities, which is also really good. And now she also gets lightning resistance for 100% for 3 turns to all allies on demand. Very nice. And she can, again, spot check the healing and increase and do this really good buff. This is one of her new special moves. Or, like I said, she can just move straight into mega damage, mega damage dealing mode. I love that. I think she's a really versatile unit. I wouldn't even hesitate. I would make her a 7-star and not look back. Pyroglacial Lastwell is kind of interesting. I think the saving grace for him now is that he's got Divine Ruination chaining frames with Winter's Oblivion. That's pretty good. There's a lot of Divine Ruination chainers out there. Otherwise, I would have said probably just to skip him. He's a finisher primarily, but now that he can do some chaining as well, he also gets Absolute Mirror of Equity, but I don't know who else chains with that. I'd have to look that up. I feel like that's all Lastwell. Maybe it might also be Axstar in the future who does Absolute Mirror of Equity. I don't really know. Or who am I thinking of? Reagan. Reagan might have it. Like I said, I have to look it up. Anyway, the main thing is he was a finisher. Now he is given 2 different chaining abilities, which gives him a little bit more of a placement on a team. But it's really up to you guys. I think if you have, I think it's really just about having a choice. If you have Orlando or Veritas of the Dark, and you already have them up at 7-star or something, then I think the need to put PG Lastwell up to 7 stars much lower in that case. If you don't already have some 7-stars who can do Divine Ruination Chain, or you just got one unit who can, like Hio, but he doesn't have a chaining partner yet, okay, I could see that. But like I said, the burning urgency of taking him up to 7-star and maxing him out is not at the same level as it is for Frevia or for Loren here. All right, and this brings us to our last 2, and these 2 are the ones where I feel they are imminently skippable. This is Roy, and I love Roy, don't get me wrong. I love Bards. Roy's the guy who got me through my Malboro fight the first time, man. I love this guy. It's just that I think right now it's better to have a spot check support unit who can not get tied up for several different turns. So right now I have CG Nickel, and I love him. And I think 6-star CG Nickel is still a better overall support than Roy, only because you have the mana on demand or the support on demand because he's able to dual cast abilities per turn. That's really it. Roy might be able to smoke him and how much health he can regenerate per turn, how much mana he regenerates per turn, by being able to break the boss and being able to buff the allies all at the same time. But the problem with Roy is just that he's tied up in turns to do it. And it takes about 6 turns till he even ramps up. Where, yeah, maybe CG Nickel doesn't buff as highly, potential-wise, as Roy can get, but he can do it right the heck now. That usually ends up being a lot more valuable than waiting down the road. So as much as I love Roy, I don't feel like him or the STMR is super duper worth it. But I will say this: of these kinds of characters, if you had 4 Roy that you were sitting on, you might as well grab the TMR. It's not bad. It's actually pretty darn good. Just not a lot of people use instruments. So it's just one of those things where, if you have 4 units of him, you're never going to need 2 Roys in a group. It's kind of where I'm going with this. So you might as well merge these things together and get the TMR, the STMR. Balthier's the last guy. I ended up having 3 of him. I got 2 on the original banner, and then I got 1 through a ticket later on down the road. And he's not a bad unit. He's a finisher. But finishers are way low on the priority chain for me. Where when I look at DPS, I really look hybrid. It sits at the top of the heap, and I still don't have a really good hybrid damage dealer. It's just the way it is. And then I look at physical, magical, and within those 2, the physical and magical, top tier is guys who chain, a lot really easily with a lot of other people. Low tier is, they chain, but it's really difficult. And then all the way at the bottom is finishers. Now, finishers can add a lot to a fight, don't get me wrong. If you look at any video for a 1-turn knockout, almost guaranteed they have a finisher available for it. And lately, the one I've seen the most is usually 7-star Olive. 7-star Olive will sacrifice himself in the middle of this chain and just annihilate something. And so finishers like Balthier, he still doesn't feel like he's quite caught up to that with his new moves. His new moves, Rapid Shot, Trick Shot, Siphon Shot, not like I said, nothing really screamed off the page at me. I did like that there's a consecutive increase. You can switch between either single wielding or dual wielding with him insofar as, You know, he's not losing a ton of power in either direction. He can either be a double hand gun user, or he can be a dual wield gun user and still be pretty effective and be getting buffs in his kit for either way. So that's kind of nice. But as far as sheer damage from a power as a finisher, you might still be leaning towards a self-sacrificing Olive. However, if you so I'm not going to say however. I'm just going to keep running around in circles. So to summarize, Frevia and Loren, level them up immediately. Really, really great units. Lunera and Noctis, situational. They have some handy moves with those toolkits. Situational. Especially for the arena, wouldn't mind. I really like Noctis, so I level them up right away. Lunera, I think, has a lot of potential for the future. Folan, Gladiolus, and Elfrida, not feeling it. I think you can leave them alone. Same story goes for Roy and Balthier. They have, but Elfrida, Gladiolus, and Folan each have at least a little something in their kit for the dedicated user of said character. I'm just not exactly sure what each one of those are. Folan, it's wind stuff. Elfrida, it's ice stuff. Gladiolus, I don't know. I'm sure there's a situation out there where you might be able to use them. Pyroglacial Lastwell and Blossom Stage Sakura, big thumbs up. If you have them, go ahead and do it. More towards Blossom Stage Sakura than PG Lastwell. PG Lastwell is still mostly a finisher, but Blossom Stage Sakura, good unit overall, good TMR, really, really good support. Really, really works well with CG Lastwell, CG Lid, pretty much anybody, honestly. And her elemental debuffs for Light, Dark, and Lightning match up really, really well with a lot of the Divine Ruination Chainers out there. So really, really like her. If you get her, great. Roy and Balthier, very skippable. And that's it, guys. That's kind of how I look at these characters from a free-to-play angle. Is it cost-effective to level them up? Will they have a lot of chaining partners? Is their TMR something I can use on a lot of different characters? What is it about this unit that really makes them valuable in my eyes? And I can tell you safely that, yeah, they put out 11 units for bringing them up to 7-star, but your mileage may vary. And out of them, I think about half can basically just go on the back burner right off the bat. And of the half that are remaining, only 2 really stick out as a, wow, this character is really something that changes the way I approach boss fights and one-turn knockout fights and the way I move forward thinking about battles. All the rest may fit into or could fit into strategies that you've got going. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's all I got for you on this video. The next video, we're going to take a look at Beryl, who is the new 7-star that's coming out tomorrow, and Auspirus. And we're going to talk a little bit about whether you should be pulling for them or not.
So until that next video, we will see you next time.